As we get to the end of the calendar year towards holidays, increasingly you'll see real estate news with predictions for what's going to happen next year. Now, these articles are really fillers because you can write them ahead of time and then the authors can take off in the month of November, December. But really, the problem is these predictions are so bad that even the companies publishing them don't believe them. And I'll show you that. Before we get into the predictions, though, let's make sure we update on where the market is. And I would say, and the fundamentals of economics are, there's two key factors determine an economy. One is demand, the other is supply. Demand most commonly would be buyers and interest rates, supply being sellers and inventory. So let's take a look at the mortgage rates, which are determining demand right now. Last week, we went down a little bit. We had peaked and hit 8% last week. I'm sorry, the week before last week. And we just came down below that. And now we closed this week a little bit lower at 7.87. So it looks like we're not pushed into the 8% ratio. It's hard to predict the future, but as of right now, we're just below that, which I think is good news psychologically for buyers and sellers in the marketplace. So mortgage rates continue in the range they've been. We have to watch it though, because it has been very volatile, and we need to be concerned about possibly those rates going back up quickly and significantly. Now, the other factor on the demand, on the supply side, is inventory. How many homes are available for sale? And that has continued to be at all-time record lows other than during the pandemic. In 2021, there was actually fewer homes for sale during the peak first year of the pandemic. But other than that, throughout history, normally we have 800,000 or more homes for sale nationally, and today we have under 500,000. So we still are below all years other than pandemic, and then we're below 2 of the 3 pandemic years as well. So inventory remains really, really tight. And as long as inventory is tight, we can't have a housing crash or prices go down. There's just not enough homes for that to happen. Now, real estate can be very local. Let's take a look in Los Angeles. We'll see the market continues to be a bit of a seller's market. I like Altos Research. They analyze all these factors and combine them, and they have a market number of 41%. Now, that's a little below last month's 42, which is more of a seller's market. So we've now trimmed down to the getting to the bottom of a buyer's market in almost what we would call equilibrium, but we're still in a seller's market. Take a look at price per square foot, a key factor. How much it costs to get 1 square foot of an average house in our market? $830. It had bottomed down at $813. So it tells you that people are paying a little bit more for a home, a square foot of home. The larger homes are selling for less. The entry-level homes and more moderate home prices seem to be holding pretty steady. So that's the market overview for currently. Now let's talk about the news going forward. Interesting article this week. One of the players, I used to be so impressed with Zillow. They were a consumer data-oriented company that was, I think, really of service. They've really become, in my mind, just a bully, a monopolistic bully. And here's the latest example. They're pressuring their flex teams, which are their best customers, who pay them the most money, to steer loans to Zillow Home Loans. Now, they're not saying Zillow Home Loans are any good. They're not saying they've won any awards with Zillow Home Loans. What they're saying is they're going to force people who are paying them for advertising to get leads to push them back to their home loan department. Now, if I do that as a licensed agent in California, I could lose my license. Zillow, of course, hires lobbyists in Washington, D.C., runs articles favorable to various political effect. And as a result, they can push buyers to their inferior home loan product without regard to regulation or without regard to whether the service is good for their customers at all. So just another point, I think Zillow has gone from being data-centric and consumer-oriented into really just a big gorilla in the real estate marketplace that's trying to bully its way through. And I think more importantly, not serving their customers effectively. It never makes sense to force customers to have a service. You would want to incentivize them. You would think that Zillow would have the upper hand to give better service to customers. They wouldn't have to force customers to use them, but they're not. Another regular source of, I think, misinformation is Redfin. Redfin this week again posted their story. This comes about every 90 days. That and the title is "Home Purchases Are Falling Through at the Highest Rate in nearly a year, not a year, not in 2 years, not in 3 years, in nearly a year. It's like saying this number is almost as bad as it was a little time last year. Then you look at the graph, you'll notice that it's below last year, it's below 2 years ago. The other thing that, as a data analyst, I noticed, I always look at the numbers on the axes, and here you can see they only show from 8% to 18%. Now, theoretically, every contract could cancel, that'd be 100%, or theoretically, zero could cancel, that'd be 0%. And so you have a range, should have a range from 0 to 100, I think, to accurately reflect this data. Here, by only showing you from 8 to 18, the range is only 10%. That makes these variances 10 times bigger than they otherwise would be. My contention is that's misleading. My contention is they do that because it makes a graph that gets your attention. Wow, look at that. That's a really sharp increase. Well, that increase, excuse me, is really 10 times greater. It appears 10 times greater than it really is. Now, what Redfin does is they advertise this information, and then their stooges in the news industry pick it up. Here's a case. Fox News reruns it. Real estate deals canceled the highest rate in nearly a year as mortgage rates tick up. And then Fox News runs the article, and then MSN puts this on their website. So you have this whole echo chamber of bad information just blowing through the industry. There's a saying that a lie travels the world 10 times before the truth even gets out of bed. And then here's a case where I'm not sure why that statistic is significant. What does it really indicate? In a time when rates have gone up a lot, maybe cancellations should be higher. I mean, buyers are sticking in more than you would expect. It's hard to say, but clearly they're exaggerating the information. The next piece of news I thought that was just interesting is the Biden administration is going to solve our housing crisis. What are they going to do? They're going, and this is just a classic. Every politician jumps on this one, whether it be federal, state, or local. They're going to convert commercial property to residential. Now, of course, everybody's thought of this, right? If you're in real estate and you notice there's no inventory of homes, and there's all these empty office buildings, why don't we make the office buildings into homes? And the answer is complicated. There's a lot of factors that go into it. The design of the building often doesn't work because where posts are and where the plumbing is and where sewage treatment is, where shopping is, what services are available in an area where there's a large building that's commercial versus residential. There's a lot of reasons to go into it. But you take a look at what the government's going to do. They're going to release a guidebook. They're going to make a list of all the lending programs that are currently available to developers. Believe me, developers know about every loan program available. They're going to update their guidebook, their guidelines. Nobody reads their guidelines. They never read their own guidelines. And then promoting the sale of surplus properties that could potentially be redeveloped for residential use. Well, why aren't they selling them? If they have surplus properties, if you just sell them, I'm sure developers will look at the property and figure out what to do with it. Here's the thing, though. Nobody here in the government has any experience in converting these properties. Why not let people who are experts do that? I've been reading Elon Musk's biography. What amazes me is how far behind NASA got on space travel. I used to work for an aerospace company in the 1980s. And from 1980 until about the last 10 years, NASA had done nothing as far as extending moon exploration or space exploration. It took a private entrepreneur like Elon Musk in competition with others like Virgin and Amazon's Blue Origin to create this new industry that's creating new satellite technology, communication technology, and really up the movement to space in orbit and hopefully a plan to get to Mars. Here you have the Biden administration is going to develop property and turn commercial property into residential? I don't think so. I would say this, don't hold your breath for that to fix the real estate problems in America. I don't think that's really going to work. The article, the subject I started this talk with was about housing predictions. And this is the time of year we get these articles. And here's Yahoo Finance. Housing market predictions for 2024. What's interesting is the one thing in their article is no predictions. Let's take a look at our key takeaways. This is just laughable. Low levels of inventory mean that sellers continue to have the upper hand in the housing market. Now, are they predicting low levels will continue? Doesn't say that. They're just saying about what is now. But their prediction is what? That the sellers will have the upper hand? How would you measure the hand. Is there hand size? Is there an upper hand versus not having the upper hand? Obviously, there's no real prediction there. Next, high mortgage rates and steep home prices are dissuading would-be buyers. Well, that's always true. You know, you have open house, 20 people show up, one buys the house. The others were dissuaded by the price or the mortgage rate. So are they saying rates will go up more? No, they're not predicting that. Are they predicting that rates will stay the same and cause problems? They're not saying that. And really, even if rates dropped to 2%, of course, prices would go up tremendously as a result. It would still be true that some buyers would be dissuaded. So key takeaway, nonsense. Number 3, this is under predictions. If rates were to drop in 2024, that would spur the market for both buyers and sellers. Well, duh. I mean, duh, if rates were to drop. That's not prediction. And that's the key takeaways from Yahoo Finance, their bank rate article on predictions for the year. But the worst prediction so far is from Wells Fargo. You got to hate Wells Fargo. I mean, for a lot of reasons. Hat tip to Lance Lambert, who has @NewsLambert and has launched a new endeavor called the Residential Club. Fantastic stuff. And he shows that Wells Fargo lowered their mortgage rate prediction for 30-year mortgages to 6.39% next year in 2024 and to 5.7% the following year in 2025. Here's what I can tell you. There's no way Wells Fargo believes that. There's no possible way. Because if they did, they would invest their equity, and the people making these predictions would invest their personal money into mortgages. Today, they're getting 7.8% for a mortgage. Why not lower your rates and do more mortgages at 7.5 or 7.25? Since you're predicting rates next year at 6.39, why wouldn't you lend all the money you can? Or 2 years from now. And then when rates go to 5.7, you can sell your mortgages at a huge profit. And the answer is they don't believe it. They don't believe. There's one thing I know, they don't believe their prediction. So why do you think Wells Fargo would put out that prediction that they don't believe in and send it to you to look at? And the answer is they want other people to buy houses so they can finance them. And this is just part of the game they play. Act like everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. We're not putting our money in that, but you should put your money in, Wells Fargo's telling you. And I would say not. I would say not to pay attention to Wells Fargo. They're not going to help you with the business. So what should you do? At the end of the day, you need to do you. If you're looking to buy a property, let's get the best plan together. It's a great time. I have a buyer made an offer really just yesterday. And I think they're getting a great value that they would not have a chance on 6 months ago. And if you're a seller, let's put a game plan together to maximize your opportunity. We still have a lot of demand at open house today with 8 people who showed up at one of my listings. There are people looking to buy houses. Let's get the plan that will work for you and get you the best outcome. So if I can help you, reach out. I'm @BillGrossProbate on social media. Call, text, or email me. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.